most of their existence, the New Orleans Saints performed in a style perfectly in tune with the tenor of their city, a lively composition, but ultimately defined by unharmonious results. That perception would forever change in 2005, when Hurricane Katrina left New Orleans in ruin. The Superdome, a symbol of suffering. Across the country, Americans rallied behind a ravaged city and its hard-luck franchise. The city and its team were united in the rebuilding. 1 year after the storm, and with 2 spirited new leaders, the Saints reopened the Superdome and delivered a clear message. It was time for a proud new beginning.
It's time to finish strong, Boston!
The Saints' rise reached its peak 7 months ago. And as the Lombardi Trophy was raised high, an entire community celebrated a victory made sweet by their shared struggle. The Saints are Super Bowl champions.
That as a preamble, welcome to a city that never needs an excuse for an all-night party. And there's one starting right here. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Andrea Kramer. This is one of those moments when, like a freight train, sound has feel.
I don't know how you follow that other than to kick off the NFL season. Maybe that's a good idea.
At the onset of any season, always a lot of questions. Some of them this year are, can the Saints repeat? What about Brett Favre? What kind of a year will he have? Can the Cowboys become the first team to host a Super Bowl in their own stadium? All of the answers over the next 5 months, but maybe some hints tonight. First, the Saints. We know how tough it is to repeat. Only 8 repeat Super Bowl champions through the years. So how do the Saints go about their business this season, Chris?
Well, ever since Sean Payton and Drew Brees got here, this has been the most exciting brand of football that we've seen in the National Football League. They like to attack going down the field. It's a lot of fun to watch. Defensively, they play much the same way. They want to get out. They want to blitz you. They want to try and create turnovers and turn the ball back over to Drew Brees in this offense.
Now, Minnesota also a very exciting and explosive team. However, minus Sidney Rice, who was Brett Favre's favorite target last year, hip surgery, out for at least half the season. They're minus a couple of guys in the secondary tonight, so they have a bit of a short deck. How do they go about winning tonight's game in hostile territory?
Well, you know, I think the easy answer is to say hand the ball off to Adrian Peterson, try to take this crowd out of the game, but you have to remember you're playing against this Saints offense, so if you come out and you try and play it conservatively, you could be down 10, 14 points. So I don't expect that at all. I think they're going to cut Brett Favre loose and see if they can just match points with him. It was one of the most exciting games a season ago. Why shouldn't it be out here tonight?
Time to get back to football. Coming up, it's the best reality show in television. It's the National Football League. The season opener next on NBC.
NBC's NFL Kickoff Special is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. By Outback Steakhouse, it's always fresh in the Outback. And by Madden NFL 11, available now. EA Sports, it's in the game. Spanish audio provided by Telemundo. NBC Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
And now, performing the national anthem this evening, Colby Calais.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed through the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
End of the anthem, and what the players are doing there, they're not saying we're number one, they're saying we are one. And that's a statement by the Players Association, by the union. I think most of you know the collective bargaining agreement is up. There's some question as to whether there will be a 2011 season. The players come out onto the field in a show of solidarity. Nothing like a labor statement to start a season. Okay, let's get to football now. Sean Payton was the master motivator for the Saints last year. What's he doing this season? Down on the field, welcome in Andrea Kramer. Andrea.
Thank you very much, Al. Well, to reinforce the mindset of repeating, Sean Payton dug into his motivational toolbox this week. On Tuesday, he brought the team here to preview the unveiling of the championship banner. Then last night, he brought in five-time NBA champion Derek Fisher, who repeated 3 times with the LA Lakers. One of his messages, be prepared. You're no longer the predator, you're the prey. As for the Vikings, they are still without cornerback Cedric Griffin, who tore his ACL in the NFC Championship game here last year. But center John Sullivan, who missed almost all of training camp with a strained calf, will play tonight.
So you have Payton and you have Brad Childress on the other side. Each man got his head coaching job in 2006. So they're part of a class of 10 new coaches that year. 4 have survived. Ryan Longwell, still one of the best kickers in the league at the age of 36 to kick off. And back deep for the Saints will be Courtney Roby as the 2010 season will commence a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game thriller, which went to overtime and was won by the Saints. And off we go at the goal line. Courtney Roby straight up the middle, gets taken down at the 22-yard line. And let's take a look at the New Orleans offense.
Brees, Purdue Boilermaker. Reggie Bush, USC.
Heath Evans, Auburn.
Marcus Colston, Hofstra University. Everett Henderson, LSU.
Jeremy Shockey, University of Miami.
Jamon Bushrod, Towson University. Carl Nix, North Salinas High.
Jonathan Gutman, Lower Richland High, Diamonds.
Jari Evans, Frankfurt Pioneers.
John Stinchcomb, University of Georgia.
You look at that line, that guard tandem about as good as it gets, Nix and Jari Evans. And they come up in the shotgun. Brees taking the opening snap of the season, going deep over the middle and finds a seam and hits Marcus Colston. Over the middle, Hussein Abdullah makes the tackle, and they begin the campaign with a 27-yard reception.
Well, right off the bat, E.J. Henderson right here in the middle of your screen is going to try and drop underneath in this cover 2 look. But Drew Brees simply too good as Henderson falls down. And, of course, the key anytime you're playing the Vikings, get Jared Allen blocked. There's the chip from David Thomas. We're off and running.
Colson was the leading receiver for the Saints last year. He caught 70. Brees rolling to his left, open again, and that's another first down. 2 plays, 2 first downs. Lance Moore tackled by E.J. Henderson. That's a gain of 11. For Drew Brees, 5 years in San Diego and now here. He was a free agent. A lot of people thought he was going to sign with Miami, but he didn't. He comes here and he's had 4 spectacular years, and there are his numbers in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl MVP, off to Disneyland and Disney World he went. And he is certain that this team can do it again this year. From the 37-yard line, they've got Bush lined up wide to the left, looking that way, and Bush is guarded well by Lito Shepherd, the former Eagle, breaking it up second down. Let's take a look at the Vikings defense. A good one.
Ray Edwards, Cincinnati Woodward. Pat Williams, Wasman High School. Kevin Williams, Oklahoma State.
Jared Allen, Culinary Academy.
Chad Greenway, University of Iowa.
E.J. Henderson, Maryland. Ben Lieber, Kansas State.
Antoine Winfield, The Ohio State University.
Madieu Williams, Maryland.
Hussein Abdullah, Washington State.
Asher Allen, Tucker High School.
Jared Allen's wife is actually going to a culinary academy. Here's Bush to the short side of the field. And he'll come up just a couple of yards shy of the first down. He's pushed out by the safety Williams and the corner Allen.
There's Torrey Humphrey, the tight end out there working on Jared Allen. They also had David Thomas with a little crackback block on the outside. And so far we're seeing Drew Brees spreading this offense out because the Minnesota Vikings defensively are very short at the cornerback position. So they're going to make sure the guys they have out there, some of them safeties, can cover their receivers.
Nickel defense 3 wide. Brees stepping away. Feels that pressure so well. The first flag of the season, and the catch is made by Devery Henderson, who for the moment gets in for a touchdown. Terry McCauley is the referee, and a flag at the onset of the play. Touchdown of the season is a 29-yard reception.
Right on the outside, you've got Devery Henderson on an out and up. Told you back the shortage at the cornerback position. Asher Allen starting in this one because of injuries to Cedric Griffin and Chris Cook. And right away, Drew Brees able to take advantage.
29 yards to Henderson on a 3rd and 2. Garrett Hartley, one of the postseason heroes for New Orleans. Big kick to win the NFC Championship game. Bangs it through. Perfect opening drive for the Super Bowl champs. 7-0 New Orleans.
Sunday night NFL games and NFL Red Zone. Now everything football is everywhere. Only with Verizon. Rule the air.
This NFL kickoff special being brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. By Toyota and the Tiny Football League. Add your Pee Wee team today. By the new Coors Light Silver Bullet aluminum pint, and by Verizon, the official wireless service provider of the NFL. Championship parade. Drew Brees telling us the other day it was like an out-of-body experience over that week following their victory. Thomas Morstead, because of the penalty, kicks from the 45-yard line because of the personal foul on Shepard, so that's an easy touchback. And here comes the Viking offense.
Brett Favre, University of Southern Mississippi. Adrian Peterson, Oklahoma. Naufal Tahi, Brigham Young. Bernard Varian, Fresno State. Chris Galvin, Florida.
South Shako, Morgan State Bears.
Brian McKinney, the U. Steve Hutchinson, Michigan. John Sullivan, Notre Dame.
Anthony Herrera, the real UT. Phil Loho, Oklahoma.
And their first play is a running play after they stack two receivers to the left, and it's Adrian Peterson. He's tackled by Roman Harper. Of course, the Brett Favre story told over and over and over the last 4 or 5 years, because it's been that long since he talked about retiring. And a lot of people obviously got very tired of it, but it created great drama again. And he comes back after 3 of his teammates go down on a private plane and bring him back in the middle of August. And here he is, but as we said at the top, minus Sidney Rice, and he was a key factor last year, led the team in receptions. 2nd down and 7 with the crowd at full throat, and they give the ball off to Peterson with some tough running through the middle. It's a gain of 5. The middle linebacker Jonathan Vilma, 51, makes the stop, 3rd and short.
One of the things when you watch Brett Favre, he's like a magician handling the ball. Watch him pump out to the left, fake the draw. Here it comes. He's going to do that. Then they have other passing combinations off of it. Just trying to get the defense to take false steps here and there. That's the way their offense is set up.
Double tight end set with a fullback in. And this is Peterson, and the Saints are equal to that task as Scott Shanley, number 58, makes the tackle. Will Smith takes a look at the crowd and says, how about that, folks? And it's 3 and out for the Vikings.
Absolutely beautiful by Shanley. He's going to take on the fullback, the Fahu Tahi, and still make the tackle. Steps up in the gap, comes through, and makes the play. Beautifully done.
3 running plays, and they figured to run the ball a lot tonight. But they're already down 7-0, and New Orleans will get the ball back. Bush to return Cluey's kick. Fair catch called for by Reggie at the 27-yard line. Saints take over a little more than 4 minutes into the game. 7-0 Saints. 4 decades, only 4 teams have led the NFL in yards and points in 2 straight seasons. And they could do it again this season with that explosive offense, and they're off to a pretty good start. Sean Payton's team on its first drive, scoring on a 29-yard touchdown pass from Brees to Henderson. That was a 77-yard drive. This one starts from the 27-yard line. Brees out of the shotgun. Backing up, sets up the screen. This is Thomas. And right there is Lieber to sniff it out and knock him down behind the line of scrimmage. And let's go back to the New Orleans touchdown.
Well, it's the movement by Drew Brees, his ability to step up. Watch Stinchcomb over here as the pass rush comes around, and Drew Brees is simply going to take a deep drop, step up and through, and it buys all kinds of time. I'm not sure at all that that was intended to be an out and up. Devery Henderson just reacted once Brees started to buy time, found the opening down the field. Beautifully done.
2nd and 12. And this time a screen back to Moore, who catches the second pass of the night. You know, I was looking at the way Brees ran that play, Chris, and it's almost like a little bit younger Favre. I mean, just you make something out of nothing. You're going to get sacked. You step away, you slide, you move out of the pocket, and you find the guy.
Well, that's what makes great quarterbacks. You know, those two guys are pretty good. And any time that you can buy some extra time, those zone defenses get stretched. As a receiver, you get a chance to ad-lib a little bit down the field. Put 7 points on the board that time.
And Brees is as adept as anybody in the league right now, just feeling that pressure and taking that 1 or 2 step slide to the left or right and get free. And of course, he's only about 6'1", so he needs to find a little space to throw. A throwing lane, and there's another one, but it's a little too deep intended for Devery Henderson. Henderson had gotten behind the corner. The safety comes over the top to provide the coverage, but the pass is a little long and it's 4th down.
And I think some of the guys in the booth are going to say we may need to keep going that way. Hussein Abdullah is the new starting safety. They've been fishing, trying to figure out who can cover back there. And Abdullah a little late to get there in that deep outside third. I think they'll try that again.
Thomas Morstead. He'll punt. Bernard Berrien back to receive it. It's an angled kick and a short kick. And it will bounce out of bounds, and flags come in at the 32-yard line because Roby runs into Berrien.
If he signaled for a fair catch, you cannot block after doing that. That protects you, but it also...
No foul for fair catch interference. The defender was pushing to the receiver. Timeout.
All right, so Terry McCauley comes down, straightens things out. Favre and the Vikes back on the field. That's what Sunday Night Football Extra looks like at NBCSports.com. You can choose your own instant replay, your own camera angle, get all the news and information and stats. You've got a lot of options. God forbid they should ever give you an option of listening to a different set of announcers, though.
That'd be an easy choice, wouldn't it?
1st and 10 at the 30-yard line. Second drive of the night from Minnesota. And Shanko makes the catch, gain of 8. Let's meet the Saints defense.
Alex Brown, the Gator Nation.
Remy Adele, South Grand Prairie High.
Cedric Gillis, USC. Will Smith, The Ohio State.
Jolon Dunbar, Boston College.
Jonathan Vilma, the U. Scott Shanley, Nebraska. Jabari Greer,
Jackson, Tennessee. Malcolm Jenkins, The Ohio State University. Roman Harper, Alabama.
Tracy Porter, Indiana University.
Porter, a big star with 2 gigantic interceptions in postseason. And Favre's second pass after his first one gained 8 is incomplete. Intended for Percy Harvin, and Tracy Porter, who we just talked about with an interception of Favre in the championship game, and a big interception to cement the Super Bowl against Peyton Manning. With the coverage, it'll be 3rd down and 1. Porter is a Louisiana kid. He grew up about a half hour from here. We were talking to him about Katrina the other day. He said it was a week and a half before he even knew if some family members were alive. Had no communication. Peterson keeps those legs churning, and because of that, picks up the 1st down. It was Vilma right there. They had him stop behind the line of scrimmage, but as tough a runner as there is in the league, Adrian Peterson picks up the 1st.
Well, defensively, the Saints can't do it a whole lot better than that. Shanley hits first, and then Vilma right in behind it, but they simply were unable to get Peterson on the ground. Vilma had a clean shot at him. But Adrian Peterson, who's playing with a little added motivation after some miscues in the championship game, fought for that one.
Miscues, namely 2 fumbles and another one that was charged to Favre. That was really Peterson's fault on a handoff. 1st down and 10. And Favre has a lot of time, and Brett goes deep, and the pass is incomplete. There was contact downfield, and you had Harvin being covered by the middle linebacker, Marvin Mitchell.
Yeah, pre-snap on that one, Al. Marvin Mitchell was lined up about 10 yards down the field, and Brett thought he could still throw it in behind him. Here's Mitchell right here, and his job is going to be dropped down the middle of the field, and I think Brett thought Percy Harvin was going to keep going and just run by the linebacker. Instead, he slowed down and jumped on the other side and almost got it picked off.
2nd down and 10. Peterson swings to the outside, nearly gets tripped up, but stays on his feet and turns it into a gain of 17 with a flag down. Tackle made by Randall Gay. And the penalty will bring it back. Holding.
I think this was Visante Shanko right here on the right tight end. See if he grabs him right here. Was just as he goes by. There you go. What a run by Adrian Peterson, though. I thought he was going to fall flat on his face and put that hand down and kept on rolling. But that's the one thing the Minnesota Vikings hate to see. They had established a little bit with their running game. Now you got to deal with the crowd and protection.
2nd and 20. You have Albert Young now flanking for him in the backfield, and they'll empty the backfield. They send him in motion. So Brett is back there alone on 2nd down and 20. And the Saints rush only 3. 8 back to cover. Favre throws. Here's another flag. And that's Shanko making the catch.
Pass interference. Offense number 81. 10-yard penalty. 2nd down.
So that's the Quinella for Shanko. Back-to-back penalties on 81.
Yeah, Roman Harper, the safety, helped make that call there as soon as Shanko came down and just pushed off of him. And straight down the field, there's Jolan Dunbar, and really no reason to do it. It was just a zone. One of the few times defensive players get calls.
2nd and 30. For years, they had Chester Taylor in and on 3rd down and 2nd and long, but Taylor's gone. He signed with Chicago. They have Peterson now. He'll take an inside handoff and pick up about half the necessary yardage as he gets the ball to the 35-yard line. So they had 2nd and 30. That's a 14-yard gain. It'll be 3rd down and 16. Greg Williams is the defensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints, the self-proclaimed Dr. Heat. And he, of course, runs a very high-risk, very high-reward defense.
He is not going to back out. Some question about cheap shots in the championship game. He said, we're not changing anything.
3rd and 16. Interesting set there out of the shotgun. Pass underneath. Here's Young. And Young will pick up all but about 3 yards needed for a 1st down. So after a 2nd and 30, at least they get it to 4th and 2 and put their punting group in a position to try to pin New Orleans deep.
Well, look at this formation here. You're going to have 2 personal protectors for Brett Favre. They are not going to let the 40-year-old quarterback get hit the way that he did the last time these 2 teams played. Nothing wrong with that. They picked up about 20 yards or so. Now they'll punt it. Should at least be able to flip the field position.
Chris Kluwe. Reggie Bush is back at his 10-yard line. And Bush will let it go, and it takes a good Minnesota bounce, and it will be down inside the 5-yard line. Saints start deep in their own territory, 7-0. Through the years, Brett Favre has been pretty demonstrative, and he was last year in that Carolina game, especially that Sunday night game. And here he was moments ago coming off the field, Chris.
Yeah, and I think they were discussing what Percy Harvin did. You see Brett say that little shake, instead of just running by the linebacker Mitchell, he broke it down in front of him. He said, that play's there, come back to it.
After the Kluwe punt, the Saints will start from their own 4-yard line. Allen gets taken out of the play, and the tackle is made as Bush makes the catch, and coming up to make the tackle is Antoine Winfield, who missed 6 games last year with injuries and coming back from a knee problem.
Pretty good job out here by Bushrod on the outside working against Jared Allen. They have 1,000 different ways they can help him against Jared Allen, but the best of all is when you can trust your left tackle to go against one of the best defensive ends in the game with no help at all, especially when you're throwing out of your own end zone.
Like 5-6.
2nd down and 9. Pierre Thomas is the back, and then Brees drops the ball, but Drew is able to pick it up and then float one into the arms of Robert Meacham. So near disaster down at the goal line, but Brees able to pick it up and then find Meacham, who had a breakout year last season.
They even had a blitz here by Ben Lieber, and he was running right towards Brees, but here's Brees' escapability again. And once again, we're seeing the safety, Hussein Abdullah, not able to get over the top. There's Lieber. I thought he was dead to rights, and then Lieber just kind of got tripped up. And for the 2nd time in this game, the athleticism of Brees wins the day.
Bush is wide to the right. They go with 4 wides here.
Offense number 9. 5-yard penalty.
Well, unless Terry McAuley gets talked out of it, it's on Brees.
5-yard penalty. 1st down.
Couldn't talk him out of it.
Sometimes tough to talk the boss out of anything. Terry McAuley in charge. They don't want those quarterbacks making real herky-jerky kind of motions to try and draw the defense off sides. Take a look at Drew Brees. Wow. I think the first one was what did it, but he had to think about it for a minute, didn't he?
Marginal.
Yeah.
1st and 15. And he guns this one to Devery Henderson, and then the ball comes loose, but they're going to rule it incomplete. Never had possession. Devery Henderson down the left side for what would have been another big gainer.
Boy, nice job by Lito Shepherd on that one. Perfectly thrown ball by Drew Brees. And Lito Shepherd is just going to cut the legs out from underneath Henderson here. Watch him come off his guy, hook those legs. And if you're wondering, is that catchable because he hits the ground? No. Once contact is made in the air, you've got to maintain possession all the way to the ground. And clearly he doesn't.
2nd and 15, 3:43 left. And Brees is going to take a timeout before his 2nd and 15 call. New Orleans 7, Minnesota nothing on opening night. The event is almost here. From the executive producer of 24 comes the new series, The Event. Blair Underwood, Jason Ritter, Laura Innes starring in it. You'll see it Mondays at 9 Eastern and Pacific and 8 Central and Mountain right here on NBC. New Orleans opening night. 2010 season underway. It's 2nd down and 15 after the Saints took a timeout from the 25-yard line. Brees to Bush. Great slip move there. And he finally gets taken down by Allen. And he went right around Ray Edwards for a 19-yard gain.
That time the Vikings look like they're going to come here. Instead, they drop out and come here. And watch Drew Brees here. Again, just buy a little time. Escape the pocket. Just feel that pass rush. Get outside. Get the ball to Reggie Bush. And look out. He's got a little added motivation himself after the week he's had.
Talk about that as we go along. The Heisman Trophy controversy, whether he should give it back, whether they'll take it away or not. And the catch is made at the 50-yard line. Jeremy Shockey is there. E.J. Henderson, and a fabulous story because the last time we saw him on a Sunday night game in Arizona, he broke his femur, the thigh bone, the longest and normally the strongest bone in the body. And at that point, when he's on the field, writhing in pain that night, you thought his career was over. And here he is 9 months later back in uniform.
He had 6 weeks on crutches, 6 weeks with a cane. But it was interesting talking with him. He never doubted for 1 second, even lying on the field that night, that he was going to be back.
2nd down and 3. And the catch is made here by Meacham. You know, Meacham, when you look at the Saints and all of their weapons offensively, they've got Colston, who would be their #1 guy, and you saw Henderson with a touchdown pass. And then there's Meacham. So if you match up quarterbacks and receivers, and you took a look at a rating for a quarterback is 158.3. That's a perfect rating. And there they are. When Brees threw to Meacham last year, they're the only duo to perfect a perfect rating since they started keeping those numbers, quarterback to receiver, in 2002.
I'm no expert, but I'd say they ought to throw it to him more.
Yeah.
You ready? Place up.
Brees is at a completion percentage record. Has a ton of time again. Swings it to the outside, and this time it's David Thomas, the #2 tight end, who makes the catch, and Antoine Winfield makes the tackle.
That's the old Saints play that they love, the bootleg, and typically on bootlegs, everything breaks to the outside. Watch Meacham out here on the outside. He's going to go like he's going to go to the corner like a typical bootleg, then break back inside. I've seen the Saints score a lot of touchdowns. That time, both safeties stayed with it, didn't give up the big play. Brees just had to drop it off.
With a minute left in the quarter, the Saints have already rung up 136 yards of total offense. Brees, and this time under pressure. So they empty out the backfield, and the Vikings take advantage of it. Coming in was Chad Greenway, maybe the most underrated or underappreciated guy on this defense for the sack.
Yeah, Greenway basically occupied the blockers here and freed up Jamie Mitchell to get the sack. That's one of the dangers. Anytime that you go that empty backfield, as a quarterback, you have to know you're not going to be able to block it. They brought a linebacker and safety. It's up to Brees to get it out.
Probably give each a half on that play. Pass caught over the middle. Bush gets free again. And taken down at the 41-yard line by Shepard on what figures to be the final play of a very productive first quarter for the Saints. 138 yards of total offense. We've played 1. It is New Orleans 7, Minnesota nothing. And NBC's NFL 2010 kickoff special resumes after these messages. The Superdome in New Orleans on opening night. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Andrea Kramer, 7-0. New Orleans after 1. And we start the second quarter with a punt. Thomas Morstead on the plus side of the field will boot this with some backspin, and it will be fair caught at the 11-yard line by Berrien. So the last time Brett Favre was in this building last January, it was a night to forget for him.
Well, and what was remarkable was he took a beating like this and was never sacked. The Saints never had a sack, but look at all the hits that he endured, and then there were major questions on the part of the Vikings. What is all this stuff? Here he is coming out on a bootleg, takes a shot, the high-low shot. That's the one that he hurt his ankle on. And according to Brad Childress, he felt like that there was a plan, there was a method to that, and he had talked to a former player on the Saints, and he confirmed it.
From the 11-yard line on first down. Gain of 1, Adrian Peterson. And as if you couldn't tell from those hits, those series of hits, take a look at these pictures. Thigh and ankle 3 days after the game.
And Brett said that the thigh actually bothered him more than the ankle right away, but there was definitely some question. Had the Vikings won the football game, which they easily could have, what kind of shape would Brett Favre have been in for the Super Bowl? I almost said, would he have played? And that was the dumbest question of all. Of course he was going to play, but he would have been in some pain.
It's been a long time since Brett hasn't played. 2nd and 10. Swings it out. Peterson seeking that first down, and he will get it. Up at the 22-yard line, Jabari Greer making the tackle along with Roman Harper.
Yeah, and for Adrian Peterson, here's a guy that caught 43 balls a season ago, which was more than his first 2 seasons combined. And they clearly are trying to help get him to that third down receiver role. Right now it's more Albert Young, Toby Gerhard, but how on third down do you take this guy off the field, one of the great players in the game?
From the 22 now, fake toss. Here's it to Adrian Peterson again. He's such a tough runner, and that's one of the reasons that he fumbles so much. He's at 20 in his 3-year career. He had 2 in the championship game here last year. I mean, he sometimes he leads with the arm that's carrying the ball.
Yeah, and one of the, they've done everything with him this offseason. They've tried a weighted football to train him. He says he thinks most of his fumbles come from when he's going to the ground, the ball, the hand with the ball in it, sometimes tries to break his fall, and that's how he ends up giving it up.
And if you're the defense and you know a guy fumbles a lot, what do you think you're going to try to tackle? This time he covers up the ball with both arms and takes it up to the 30-yard line for a short gain.
I tell you, one of the things that really impresses me about Adrian Peterson, though, there was a mix-up in the championship game on a handoff and a fumble, and it would have been easy after the day that he had all the fumbles to say, hey, we just mixed up together and fouled that thing up. He said, no. He said it was my fault. It was not Brett. It was totally me. He is a stand-up guy and one of the finest young men we'll beat in the game.
Brad Childress pacing the sidelines. They go to their heavy set here with Peterson in the backfield and Favre's going to throw, and he swings it out, and that's a first down to Jeff Dugan, who can play fullback or tight end, H-back. First down. Peterson can gain some inspiration. You look at Eric Dickerson, people forget he averaged more than 12 fumbles a season the first 4 years. Then he knocked that off, as did Thurman Thomas. He had fumbleitis. And, of course, Tiki Barber, the most renowned of all, 44 fumbles over the first 7 years, and then only 3 per year over the last 3. So it is rectifiable, as if you didn't know. Albert Young is now in the game. He's the tailback. Young, second-year player from Iowa, and they're going to give it to him. And he takes it up to the 39-yard line. Great way to start a season. It's going to be a phenomenal opening weekend. Among the games, of course, is Dallas and Washington, and we're going to go there on Sunday night as Mike Shanahan and Donovan McNabb begin a new era.
Yeah, and some questions about the health of the offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys, so the matchup should be tremendous. It's going to be a lot of fun to see Donovan in the Redskins uniform.
And no better way to open up this year. And the only other better way would be a rematch of the Super Bowl, but since Indianapolis doesn't play New Orleans, that was never an option. Favre throws. And that is Albert Young, and knifing through is the cornerback Jabari Greer to blow up that play. 3rd and 12.
I'll tell you, the one thing that you do see out of these corners, here's Brett, fake the smoke screen, fake the draw, throw the screen. But these two corners, I tell you, they're pretty special. They don't get a lot of attention, but Jabari Greer and Tracy Porter, we know about the plays that Porter made. But a lot of people here think Jabari Greer is the better cover guy.
3rd and 11. Ticking down to 10 minutes left in the half. And Brett will throw it underneath. Young again. Flag is thrown, and Young is down at the 43-yard line. And you can have a face mask, I think. The line judge coming in. Initial signal over to Terry McCauley. Looked like a face mask.
Yeah.
Call. Here's McCauley.
There are 2 fouls on play. Personal foul, grasping the face mask, offense number 71. Personal foul, grasping the face mask, defense number 50. The penalty's offset. 3rd down.
Well, that's a break there for Minnesota, because otherwise they would have been short of the first down had there been no penalties on the play, and they'll get to at least run one more.
Well, it was easy to see Marvin Mitchell's face mask. On the other side, Lodeholt looked like he was going to get beat on the pass rush, right tackle, and he was just going to reach out and grab that face mask.
Third and 11 again. Favre over the middle, and it is caught at the 48-yard line. That's Shanko, covered well. Scott Shanley makes the tackle, and one of the best free agent pickups in the last 3 years. Visante Shanko, the former Giant, 15-yard gain and a first down.
I tell you what, that was a great job by Brett Favre hanging in there. He had to hold it to the last second. And you just get the feeling that Brett is still trying to figure out these receivers on the outside. Without Sidney Rice, he just doesn't have that true go-to guy. Brett talked about how he could throw it to Sidney even if he was covered. But I think he's still trying to figure out who that next guy is going to be. Maybe it's Shanko.
From the 49-yard line. Back to Peterson. Good run. Beauty. 9 yards. We haven't even touched on Favre's ankle. We're talking about Brett. He's going to be 41 years old in October. Remember, he had ankle surgery in May. And obviously not 100%. It's the left ankle. He's still hobbled, but appears, at least tonight, to have some fairly decent mobility.
Yeah, a lot of news about the lubricant that he put in that ankle. He said he's going on a series of 5 different shots. He's already had 2 of them, and it's supposed to help that bone-on-bone friction that happens after all those surgeries.
2nd and 1. Peterson to the 36-yard line. You know, with Peterson, if I'm Adrian, as we take a look at him again, you know, I think maybe in a way I'm motivated by the fact for a couple of years everybody said, oh, he's the best back in the league. Now most people are saying Chris Johnson is the best back in the league.
Yeah, a lot of things motivate him. And it's interesting, we talked about Brett and his ankle. he can still get out there on those stretch plays. There are a lot of quarterbacks in their early 30s that can't make that handoff anymore, and that really helps Adrian Peterson.
Fake toss. Back to Peterson. Again, very tough running. That time behind the right guard, Anthony Herrera. And that's a gain of 9 as we tick down past the halfway mark of the quarter.
I tell you, it's really a tough thing. Brett fakes this smoke screen to the wide receiver and then runs the draw. It just freezes the linebackers for a second.
And after a muddle huddle, they come up quickly to try to catch the Saints off balance. And it's a short gain here for Peterson. So Adrian Peterson already in this game tonight has carried the ball a dozen times. He has 12 carries for 56 yards.
And this is the question for this New Orleans Saints defense. Can they hold up against the run? They certainly have had issues when people have taken it right at them. And I think so far tonight they're working that right side of Alex Brown and Jimmy Wilkerson, two new defensive ends, really playing in new positions as well.
Brown, former Chicago Bear, came over. This time it is Young as Peterson gets a breather. No gain. Jolan Dunbar making the stop, and the Viking defense enjoying this mini vacation. Drew Brees has been on the bench because Minnesota has now had the ball almost 9 minutes.
Well, I tell you what, Cedric Ellis just completely blew up Anthony Herrera on that. Goodness gracious. They've been worried about his knee. I think they can worry no more.
2nd and 10. They stack 2 receivers to the left. There's a flag. Albert Young carrying the ball. Terry McCauley. That'll cost them 5.
Illegal formation. Offense. Number 40 was covered and then shifted. Penalties decline. 3rd down.
Won't cost them 5, but it will cost them a down instead of 2nd down and 16, or 3rd down rather, and 9. It'll be 3rd down and 9.
What an effective drive this has been. You're the underdog coming in. You're wearing down this defense. And you're working on the crowd. Looks like they're going to take a timeout, maybe give this defense a bit of a breather.
They will. 5.5 minutes remaining in the opening half. 7-0. Super Bowl champion Saints. This NFL kickoff special being brought to you by Wendy's. You know when it's real. By PlayStation Move. Move into the action. Only on PS3. By the new Coors Light Silver Bullet aluminum pint, and by Nissan inviting you to shift the way you move. Now, when I come down here with John Madden, you know we'd have about 3 of those. You, on the other hand, opt for collard greens and broccoli.
And a Diet Coke.
Po' boys, 3rd and 9 after the timeout taken by the defense.
There it comes. They're in a blitz look.
And they're all coming. And Favre throws, and the pass is incomplete as Greer was able to blanket Bernard Berrien. And they have held Berrien without a catch tonight.
Well, Bernard Berrien did not have an on-target drop a season ago, and this is pretty close to qualifying. You see they bring 7. That's all out, which means straight man-to-man coverage on the backside. And it looked like Jabari Greer just got a hand in there. You see the coverage. That's with no help whatsoever. Big-time play by Greer.
Brian Longwell, one of the 3 band of brothers. Steve Hutchinson, Jared Allen, the others, a 42-yard attempt. Those 3 went down to Brett Favre's house in Mississippi and brought him back 3 weeks ago. Good drive, but it results in only 3. 7-3. Rivalry weekend begins Saturday here on NBC as Notre Dame seeks revenge against rival Michigan for last season's heartbreaking loss. And 3 nights from tonight, we will be in our nation's capital. The Dallas Cowboys opening the season against the Washington Redskins on Sunday Night Football. Rivalry weekend on NBC. Here's the kick. 7-yard line. Courtney Roby. And Roby will get tripped up as he crosses the 30-yard line by Aaron Henderson. New Orleans 7, Minnesota 3. Tomorrow morning, it's back to Football Friday on the Today Show. Most of the gang was down here today. A special concert on Rockefeller Plaza with Sugarland cheerleaders, tailgating, and all sorts of football surprises tomorrow on the Today Show. And there's the Superdome, such a symbol of misery 5 years ago. And tonight, 5 years later, the joint, of course, is jumping. Who would have ever believed it?
I tell you what, and the people down here, how happy are they to see you come in and spend a little time? They love it.
From the 32, Brees goes to Thomas, and there's a flag down, and New Orleans' whole offense tonight has been pass.
Offense number 78. 10-yard penalty. First down.
John Stinchcomb. Saints have had only one rush in 25, almost 25 minutes of football tonight. That was Bush for 8 yards. And there is Brees, who's thrown for 138 yards. He's thrown to 8 different receivers. 12 of 16. And that's Drew. That's what he did last year. Spread it around, as did Favre on the other side. First and 20.
Kill. Like 5-2. Ready. Tackle right. 26. Ready. 90. Next up.
Checks off. Throws underneath. Marcus Colston making the catch. 28-yard line. Talking about Brees and what he did. And take a look at that. They had 7 players catch 35 or more. And only the second team in history to do that. You go back to the 95 Dolphins. And Marino was spreading it around. Irving Fryer, Terry Kirby, Keith Byers, some of those guys on that Dolphin team. Second down and 14 from the 28-yard line. And Brees throwing into traffic this time. And the pass incomplete. Tried to get it to the tight end, David Thomas. It'll be 3rd and 14. Ben Lieber in on the coverage.
Well, you got a good matchup on the outside. Jermon Bushrod working against Jared Allen. And there's one of the ways that time Reggie Bush fanned on the chip as he came around. But so far, I don't think we've really mentioned Jared Allen's name. And he's been getting some help, but not like we've seen. We've seen tight ends over there. We've seen wingbacks. We've seen pulling guards trying to get him. Bushrod looks a little more confident with him this year than he did a season ago.
Allen normally a very disruptive force. He's averaged almost a sack per game over the last 3 years. One of those with Kansas City.
Offense number 74. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
So naturally, the minute you highlight him and you try to get into the Pro Bowl. Thank you.
We're not going to get him to the Pro Bowl, but he's hanging in there pretty good, at least so far on this one. But this is, a bit of a dangerous time here for the Saints. They come out, they score the first touchdown, and the Vikings weather the storm, and now their offense has been struggling, and you can feel the momentum shifting a bit here, and the Saints defense has to be getting tired at this point.
On 3rd and 19. Brees feeling it, buying time, has to settle underneath, and is lucky that one wasn't intercepted. There's a flag down.
Offense number 73. Penalties decline. 4th down.
That's Jari Evans, but you almost had a near pick by Asher Allen.
I don't know exactly what Drew Brees saw here, but watch Asher Allen, number 21. Ball's going to be right in his lap, and somehow that goes on the ground. That allows the punter to come out. I'll tell you, that's the Vikings missed a lot of opportunities in that championship game, too. Everybody talks about the Vikings turnovers, but they had a shot for 2 or 3 themselves that they missed.
Thomas Morstead's punt. High and very deep. This is a real beauty. Juggled and then recovered. Berrien had to back up. Juggled it and gets back to the 18-yard line. Courtney Roby making the tackle. That is a 59-yard boot by Morstead. The 2 head coaches in this game, Childress and Payton, each went to Eastern Illinois. On Sunday night, we go to Washington. Mike Shanahan went to Eastern Illinois. So only Wade Phillips in our 2 games this weekend did not go to Eastern Illinois.
Tony Romo.
And Tony Romo went there as well. 1st and 10 from the 18-yard line. This drive begins with Favre throwing. Here's Harvin. Percy, who's been prone, of course, to migraine headaches, takes a pop from Tracy Porter, gets up and goes, no problem. 11-yard gain, 1st down.
Malcolm Jenkins, who's filling in for Darren Sharper, is going to come out of nowhere here to lay this one on Percy Harvin. Good golly. Wow.
12-yard gain, ball at the 30-yard line. And the last thing is Peterson carries for 1 that the Saint defense needed was that 3 and out by the offense, because they were on the field for about 9 minutes on Minnesota's last drive. And now the Vikings with the ball back again, under 3 minutes to play in the half.
I'll tell you, Cedric Ellis is having a big game in the middle. That time the Saints coming out in a 34 look with him right on the nose. And of course, John Sullivan, the center for the Minnesota Vikings, has missed much of training camp with a bad calf. And right now, Cedric Ellis is going to work on it.
No! 390! 390!
Short drop, gets jostled, has it intercepted. It's Jonathan Vilma over the middle, so they finally get to Favre. They finally jostle him. He throws, he couldn't get anything on it, and Vilma right over the middle for the pick.
Jonathan Vilma, who for my money was the best linebacker in the playoffs a season ago, as Brett tries to ad-lib a play, comes up and makes a mistake, and it is almost impossible to watch that play and not think of the interception. A little hold on the back end of that one as well, but not think of the interception that ended the Vikings season.
And there's the guy, Roman Harper, who creates the interception by knocking Favre into his right tackle load hole. So now with 2.5 to go. Short field for the Saints from the 29-yard line. Pierre Thomas will swing to the outside and get around the corner, but not for long. Knocked down just about at the line of scrimmage.
And think about the transition, the dropped interception on the other end by the Vikings that would have given them the ball in the 30. Punt it down the field, a great punt, and then Favre throws the interception. Quite a turnaround.
Vilma had that pick on what's known as that high-low hit on Favre in that championship game, so he's been there, and we tick down to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to the half. 7-3 Saints. Toyota halftime show is coming up. A fresh start for Donovan McNabb, and Bob Costas will have that story, and we will see McNabb on Sunday night. Tony Dungy, Rodney Harrison, they're right there with Dan Patrick as our crew has traveled to the Big Easy and ready for the Toyota halftime show. Jared Allen in the defense right now trying to limit the damage after the Favre interception. 2nd down and 11. Quick count. And Thomas can't get anything started tonight. Pierre gets hit by Chad Greenway. Of course, he can't get anything started because they're not going any running plays.
Yeah, well, the Minnesota Vikings are a tough team to run the football against, so I'm not so sure that Sean Payton hasn't decided, you know what, I like our matchup against their secondary. They've got a couple of guys injured back there. We're throwing against safeties instead of corners. Let's do that.
3rd and 9. Right now you'll be looking at about a 47-yard field goal if they don't gain a yard on this play. And they will not. And Thomas looks for a flag and doesn't get one. And he got wrapped up and was covered on the play very, very well to make it 4th down.
Now, Lito Shepherd, that was pretty close over there on the tail end. Here's Bushrod out on the outside. Working against Jared Allen. He's going to get help from David Thomas, and really Allen has no choice but to try and go inside. But that was very nearly pass interference, which would have been a 1st down.
Garrett Hartley, 3 field goals of 40 or more yards in the Super Bowl. This for 46. Of course, he won the overtime game to send the team to the Super Bowl, and this time Hartley's kick is no good. Probably needs more pressure. It's the regular season. And that's going to give Favre the ball up at the 36-yard line.
We talked about how Brett likes to fake these little smoke screens or quick screens out to the wide receiver and then hand the ball off. Sometimes then he'll fake the run and throw it again. But occasionally that will actually get you in trouble because you turn your back to the defense. And on the interception, that was exactly what happened. He turned his back, faked that smoke screen, and lost track of Roman Harper, who came off the edge.
From the 36 now, a minute and 19. Minnesota with all of its timeouts. Catch is made over the middle by Adrian Peterson. Brett checking down. Gain on the play of 6 yards, 2nd and 4. Going no huddle. And it's a slant, and it's burying, but only a couple of yards, and they're shy of the first down. And the Vikings will now spend their first timeout. The Viking defense, of course, on that first drive of the game, they come out and New Orleans is all hepped up, and away they go, and down the field they march, and an easy touchdown drive. But since that point, that defense looks like, well, the Minnesota defense that we're used to.
Yeah, I mean, really, they did a number on this Saints offense in the championship game. I think 275 yards of offense, which was the least that they were held to in any game that Drew Brees played. I think week 17 against Carolina, nobody played and they didn't get that many yards. But the best job that anybody did against the Saints a season ago was the Minnesota Vikings, and they gave up that big play on the scramble by Brees. But since then, they've really settled in, and they've settled in with some backup players.
Their game plan, at least in the first half, New Orleans, pass, pass, pass on the 3 rushes. 3rd and 1 from the 45. They're going to give it to Harvin on the end around. Can he pick up the first down? He's to fight for it, and he does. That was a tough yard and a half to pick up the first down, and he is able to get out of bounds to save a timeout and stop the clock at 46 seconds. And now some shoving going on. You got Porter and Harvin, and we saw the two of them before.
Percy Harvin not wanting to take any of that, but this is what you can do with a Percy Harvin. They empty the backfield, take Adrian Peterson out of there, and you're thinking, okay, they can't run the ball now. And here comes Percy Harvin, who did a lot of that at the University of Florida. They put him in the backfield, hand it off. He can do a lot of things.
Vikings 2 timeouts left. 46 seconds. Here come the Saints. And the pass is caught on the run. It is Shanko getting behind the linebackers, finding the seam, and Favre says, let me take a timeout right here. We'll collect ourselves, we'll get set, 33-yard gain, stop the clock with 40 seconds and a first down.
There you go. You try and get fancy on defense. Watch how they're all up here going to fake the blitz, but then Shanley's going to try and drop underneath it, and he can't outrun Shanko. Nobody down the middle. Beautifully thrown by Brett Favre. Big-time play. You know, you get up there, you love playing those games at disguise and all that kind of stuff, but you have to be careful on those runouts. Brett saw it and took full advantage.
Ran right by Shanley. Favre is now 10 of 14. For 107 yards.
I'm a little surprised we haven't seen more of Greg Camarillo in the game. He, of course, was traded for Benny Sapp because of the injury to Sidney Rice. Camarillo showed that he knew how to work some of those underneath zones, and I feel like Brett's looking for somebody out there. You know, he just doesn't have great confidence in the guys that are out there on the field reading that defense.
Camarillo slot guy, much like Wes Welker, a Welker type. He's played very sparingly in this half. First down from the 20-yard line. Favre pumping, throwing over the middle, and it's caught by Shanko for a touchdown. And Brett Favre, who came into the building tonight, and he was laughing about it before the game. He said, I'm on the bus, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? He's happy he's here right now. Touchdown, Minnesota.
Oh, baby, I think he's found his guy, and it's Visante Shanko. Shanko with a huge year last year, 11 touchdowns, and you can see the confidence coming. That little out and up got him.
And for Shanko, 4 catches, 76 yards. Longwell for the point after, and that one gets blocked. And of course, down the line, that could be significant. Adele with the block to keep it as a 2-point game. Meanwhile, Shanko, that's his 19th touchdown pass over the last 2 seasons, plus 1 game.
Watch Shanko right up here, run a little fake to the out, and then back up. And the key was the protection held up. Only a 3-man rush, which allowed Shanko to get right in behind Jonathan Vilma. Brett sees the 3-man rush and understands right now he has time. You saw him fake to that out where Shanko turned out. And then Shanko went up and got it. Look at the protection, though. All day. Plenty of time to set this up. The safety split. Bingo.
When Shanko was playing with the Giants, he was not a pass catcher. Minnesota was able to pick him up again, or pick him up from the Giants as a free agent. As we said before, that's one of the better free agent pickups in the last couple of years. 5-yard line, Courtney Rolby takes it back to the 25 with 27 seconds and only 1 timeout left for New Orleans. And let's go back to the block on the kick.
Well, you can't line up on the center anymore. You see him split outside. Couldn't see if it was Jenkins that came through or maybe Remy Adele who just broke through. It's a new rule this year. You got to be outside the shoulder pads, and yep, looks like Remy Adele,
right,
who they say is the most improved defensive player they have on the team this year. He has made huge strides at that nose tackle position.
Now Brees trying to get him into field goal range, and it's a wobbly duck as he gets hit. And Bush will sprint out of bounds. 23 seconds remaining.
Now for Brett Favre, a little uncomfortable early on, but he's a guy that you can't let get settled. You can't let him get comfortable, and they have not been hitting him the way that they did in that championship game. The Vikings came in absolutely determined that no matter what else happened, Brad Childress was not going to let Brett Favre take that kind of beating again.
3 rushes, and this will be the 21st pass. And it's a short one, and trying to get out of bounds, and unable to do it is Jeremy Shockey. And that's going to take us, unless they call a timeout, to the locker room.
Hard to believe after this start, it's 9-7 Vikings now.
Very hard, but that is the end of the first half. In the Superdome, with the score Minnesota 9, New Orleans 7. Coming up next, the Toyota halftime show. But first, these messages from your local NBC station.
This telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
Second half, Superdome, New Orleans, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Andrea Kramer, and Minnesota will get the ball to start in the second half after a missed New Orleans field goal attempt. Favre leading Minnesota down the field to take the lead. 3 rushing plays in the first half. Last year, in every game played in the league, no team had fewer than 4 in the first half. So it's all about Minnesota missing some people in the secondary, but really unable to capitalize except on that opening drive of 77 yards.
And they've had some short series as well, so that defense has been out there taking body blows from Adrian Peterson, and especially on opening day, you wear out quicker than you do at any other point in the season.
Morstead kicks off. Second half underway. 2 yards in the end zone. Percy Harvin, and that's a great open field tackle by Courtney Roby. Let's go to the sidelines. Andrea Kramer. Andrea.
Well, Al, I asked Sean Payton about that play selection in the first half. 22 passes, only 3 runs. He said we wanted to spread ourselves out and make them play coverage. He said it'll be the same formula in the second half, although it doesn't preclude them from running. As for the Vikings, very animated going at halftime. After weathering the storm of the Saints' opening drive, Brad Childress told me we just had to recalibrate, settle down, and play our base defense.
And that is what they did, because they played brilliant defense after that opening drive, which consumed only a couple of minutes and 77 yards, 5 plays for the Saints. Peterson slanting to the outside and finding the first down marker and getting past it. So that'll move the chains. It's a gain of 13, 61 yards on the ground for the Vikings. And of course the Saints didn't run the ball at all. Passing yards pretty close to being even, and the 1 turnover in the half by Favre on the pick, but New Orleans unable to capitalize. First down from the 32. Ron Stockton comes in for leverage and provides it as Peterson goes through the middle.
Well, one of the keys we knew coming in, could Brett Favre get protection? And this offensive line's done a nice job. 3-man protection there. He understands he has time to step around and look. Again, a 3-man protection. Now they finally come with a blitz, and he burns them. So anytime you have a quarterback that understands the difference when he has time and when he doesn't, it makes it tough on the D.
Peterson takes this to the 40-yard line. Just 1 hit and 1 knockdown tonight of Favre.
A little different than what it was in that championship game, wasn't it? And some of those were borderline. I mean, things like going out on the bootleg and taking shots, you know, from the guy. Some of them drew flags, and I just don't think the New Orleans Saints cared.
Pete Morelli, the referee, according to Brett, apologized to him after that high-low hit. Didn't draw a flag. 3rd and 3. To the outside, and that is incomplete. It's Berrien on the sideline. That's Jabari Greer in his 7th year from Tennessee. Came over as a free agent from Buffalo with the coverage.
Well, they're going to get some tangled feet here, but it doesn't matter. This is not a foul. I'm sure everybody's screaming at home in Minnesota, but tangled feet there, that is not a penalty.
Chris Kluwe. His 3rd punt of the night. The 2 earlier ones were 48 and 46. This one is fielded by Bush, who runs parallel to the 20-yard line and brings it back out to the 25-yard line. 9-7 Minnesota. Ball at the 26-yard line against this Minnesota defense, that rushing defense, that great front 4, allowing only 75 yards rushing a game since 06. 48 straight without allowing 150 rushing yards. This is since Childress took over. Now Leslie Frazier, and there he is, an outstanding defensive coordinator. He's been interviewed a number of times for head coaching jobs, will eventually get one. Remember, he was the successor to Mike Tomlin. Tomlin was the defensive coordinator here in Childress' first year, and you know where that led, to the head coach at Pittsburgh and a Super Bowl 2 years later.
Yeah. That's what you get when you try and run the football. We talked about the broken femur on E.J. Henderson. Doesn't look like he's slowing him too much down now. Watch it right here. Oh, nice job there. You saw that was Ray Edwards come slamming inside, picking off the offensive lineman, and then Henderson just cleaning it up.
Bush and Thomas are now both in the game. Thomas, the running back, and Reggie in the slot. And now they finally find some running room and very close to a first down goes Thomas.
That looked familiar, Al. That's exactly what we were talking about with Brett. Taking that smoke screen out there and coming back with the draw. He's going to raise up, freeze the linebackers. They're moving backwards. Hand it to Pierre Thomas.
You can't copyright a playbook.
Jared Allen's going to think it's coming. He jumps up in the air. There's no way he gets back in the play.
That was enough for a first down. The ball is at the 36. Bush is the back. They'll give it to him. Reggie with some stutter step moves. Gain of 6. You all know about Reggie Bush and you follow football because of what happened when he was at USC. It took the NCAA a long time to decide that what he did was illegal enough in terms of what the NCAA is going to allow, so that USC winds up banned from postseason play for 2 years. 30 scholarships over 3 years they will lose. They're on probation for 4 years. It led to Mike Garrett leaving as the athletic director after a long tenure and the ascension of Pat Hayden as the new athletic director. So for Reggie Bush, this is something that's been talked about and will continue to be talked about, and Thomas is through the middle. The question this week is, did the Heisman Committee try to take the Heisman Trophy away from Bush? Andrea with more on that.
Well, Al, there's a lot of speculation, but the Heisman Trust started its own investigation after the NCAA issued its report, and the 8-member Board of Trustees will determine Bush's fate at their monthly meeting, which is expected to be on Tuesday. Majority rules it'll only take 5 votes to revoke the Heisman, but Al, the ballot's clear. Recipients must be in compliance with the bylaws. Being a student athlete, Reggie wasn't eligible in 2005.
Andrea's Lance Moore loses his helmet, makes the catch. That is a couple of words with Greenway. And there are a lot of people who think that Bush should just end it by giving the Heisman Trophy back. USC took the replica of the Heisman Trophy and sent it back to the Heisman Committee.
Yeah, we talked to him a little bit about it, and obviously he was upset. He was embarrassed about what he did to his university and upset. And he got in trouble. Sometimes past associations can come back to haunt you if you're not willing to break them.
That is the truth. 2nd and 1. And now Thomas. So all of a sudden, New Orleans not running the ball at all. And now this drive, they keep moving the chains because of the run. First down.
These 2 guards for the Saints are just outstanding. Carl Nix is right there. And on the other side, Jari Evans, who just got a $50 million deal. These 2 guys in there battling against the Williams wall, Pat Williams and Kevin Williams. And I know you have to be a football junkie to not watch the football, but if you want to see some good action, watch these 2 guards against those 2 great defensive tackles.
Very dramatic right there from the 37. Off the fake. They chase him and get him, and from behind, that's a great tackle by Ray Edwards for the sack. Edwards chasing Brees and able to reach out and grab him around the ankles and gets the sack.
That was kind of a bizarre play. It was like a naked run here. They fake it, but he tucks it away right away, almost like a college kind of play. And Asher Allen was right there in his face, and that one went nowhere. Why you don't have Drew Brees in a position where he could throw it, I'm not real sure.
Now our buddies of the Elias Sports Bureau can look at that and go, was he running or was he passing?
I thought it was a run all the way.
That'll take a sack away from Edwards. That'll be reviewed this week. It'll be a tackle for loss, and we got 4 flags.
Defense number 91, elevator to the quarterback. 5-yard penalties. 2nd down.
There's Edwards.
Well, you're going to see once again, this time Brees doesn't get called for this. You set that up and you set that up and you set that up. He's probably done it that way 10, 15 times in a row, and then when you need it, you call on it.
2nd and 8. Under 8.5 to go. 3rd quarter. Vikings nearly jump. And Williams will. Pat and Kevin in the middle. And Greenway backs off after faking the blitz. And the pass is caught by Colston. First down to the 21-yard line.
Well, just like Peyton Manning, the reason that Drew Brees does this, and all the great quarterbacks do, is when you go this hard count, you end up showing what your coverage is. He saw them backing off there, so now he knows just throw a zone pass. And even though Greenway comes in and fakes it, Brees says, you're not fooling me. I saw what you did. When you thought the snap count was coming, you backed up. You knew exactly where to go.
Brees wins that chess match. The ball is at the 21-yard line. And they swing this one out in the flat to Pierre Thomas. And Thomas will take the ball inside the 10-yard line. It'll be first down and goal.
Did you hear that time, Al? That kill call? What they do is they call 2 plays in the huddle, and the live one is the first one, and if Brees doesn't like it, he kills it to the second one.
Ready. Kill. Black 5-6, ready. 90, black side.
Then they come in with the pick from the outside, and they free Pierre Thomas. Just a brilliant call there. I think that was Heath Evans that came down on the pick play, and they got away with it.
This is the 10th play of the drive. And Thomas has enough room to get the ball to the 1-yard line. And on those 10 plays, the Saints have run the ball, 6 of them.
How about my man Carl Nix once again? We talked about these great guards inside. Coming down, just driving that whole thing all the way down that time against Pat Williams. Had the angle. He should be able to make that block. Impressive drive so far.
Thomas behind Evans, a yard away from taking the lead. And Thomas is able to lunge into the end zone for a Saints touchdown.
You talk about putting guys in the Pro Bowl. Check this one out right here. Carl Nix. Goodbye, everybody. Nice job by Heath Evans as well. He's just going to drive that block down inside there, and Heath Evans came in and cleaned up Greenway with a great block as well. Nix knows it. He had a lot to do with that one. Stick your hands in the air, big guy.
That's an 11-play drive, and they never got to third down. The point after is good with 6:13 remaining in the third quarter. New Orleans 14 and the Vikings 9. Our kickoff special being brought to you by DirecTV. Watch your favorite team wherever you live, only on DirecTV. By Hyundai, maker of the 2010 Genesis, the vehicle that does everything better. By Bud Light, it's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. And by Sprint, the Now Network. And that's really, it's a beautiful sight. Trombone Shorty and everything around New Orleans, Grandpa Elliott. I mean, this was a city, without exaggeration, that we all know was almost wiped off the map in August of '05. And forget about the football team. That was small potatoes. They, of course, spent the whole season playing in San Antonio and Baton Rouge. Percy Harvin up to the 16 in it. The history of sports, I can't think of a parallel. 5 years later, they celebrate a championship, and they have a 5-point lead in the third quarter. Well, we're told no one lives the thrill of a chase more than U.S. Marshal Annie Frost. Jerry Bruckheimer is the executive producer. The new series is Chase, and you'll see it Monday nights right here on NBC. Superdome. Their team up by 5. Ball is at the 16-yard line as the Vikings begin this drive. And Peterson can barely get out of the backfield. Jonathan Vilma, who had the interception before, makes the tackle. That Saint defense last postseason. Arizona came in with Warner, 2 takeaways. Of course, the game against the Vikings with Favre, 5 takeaways. And then in the Super Bowl, 9 hits on Peyton Manning. The 1 takeaway was the interception by Porter that wrapped up the game. Turned a 7-point lead into a 14-point lead. And you take a look at those 3 guys, you know 2 of them for sure are going to the Hall of Fame, and Warner should. 2nd and 10. Ball is at the 16-yard line. And Favre throwing for Harvin, and is it picked off inbounds? No, it's not. Malcolm Jenkins jumps up, makes the catch, but comes down out of bounds, so it's incomplete only.
You want to feel good about the season right now. Malcolm Jenkins just showed he can make a play. Remember, he took over for Darren Sharper, who only had 9 interceptions, 3 of those were touchdowns. Big questions about whether this defense would drop off with Malcolm Jenkins in there. And Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator, told us no way. He went out to Ohio State, scouted him, talked to him, said, I know he can play the position. He's done a great job.
3rd and 10. Favre throwing, and that's low and incomplete. That one's intended for Greg Lewis. First time he's looked Lewis's way tonight. And there is Darren Sharper. We talked about him. He's on the physically unable to perform list, but can come back after 6 weeks.
Well, and now with the lead, the Saints are feeling a little more confident bringing pressure. And one of the reasons they're feeling confident is these corners are winning the battle against the wide receivers on the outside.
Chris Kluwe. Bush. It's a 46-yard kick. And Bush can get out of his own tracks, but finally at the end, all kinds of coverage on the play, and that's Heath Farwell, who went to the Pro Bowl last year, making the tackle. Who can forget that sight in the Super Bowl? There is Balin Brees, mother Brittany, and she's pregnant. The Brees' second child will be coming along very shortly, wearing those noise reducers, the headphones, at the Super Bowl, and it made the cover of Sports Illustrated. I mean, it was just a classic picture, and something that Balin can look at as he grows older, and it will be an iconic picture, the symbol of what they pulled off. Here's Thomas on the screen, and he gets taken down here for the gain of 3. You know how wacky this world is, Chris? So here's Brees. He's got the 1.5-year-old and a baby on the way. His opposite number tonight, Brett Favre. Brett, when the game is over, will get in the car. He will drive back to Hattiesburg because they don't have to play until a week from Sunday. And tomorrow, he will go to the christening of his grandson. Parker Brett is being christened in Hattiesburg tomorrow. Grandpa, congratulations.
You know, some of the guys he's playing with were babies when he came in the league, too.
Yes, they were. 2nd down and 8 from the 33-yard line. And Brees slips this one to the outside. Another great tackle there so that Bush can't escape, and that's Jamarcus Sanford making the stop.
Yeah, they really had to do just so much back there in the secondary, trying to just make do for a little while. Cedric Griffin, their corner, who played so well a season ago, 4 interceptions. He's out with a knee. They think he's close. Chris Cook, their #1 draft pick, he's out with a knee. So basically tonight they're playing safeties at corner-like positions, which is why the Saints keep spreading everything out.
To correct that tackle call, that was Hussein Abdullah who got the start tonight, who makes the stop. And that's a story in and of itself as well. 3rd down and 7. And that's caught, and that's Lieber making the tackle on Robert Meacham. So the Vikings hold, and it will be 4th down and 6.
Well, that time the Vikings come with blitz here and blitz over here, and basically all they're doing, though, is bringing 5. It feels like about 7 guys are coming, but that's the whole zone blitz concept. You show 7, you drop 2 out, and he really had time to make that throw.
Morstead's kick is end over end and fairly short, and fielded at the 26-yard line by Bernard Berrien, who takes it back to the 31, and is a little shaken. 2:56 left in the 3rd. Saints by 5.
There's Jonathan Vilma, who really is the Drew Brees of this defense. In the Super Bowl, he checked off 60% of the plays in that game against Peyton Manning, and his line to Greg Williams, the offensive coordinator, after the game was, "I out-checked the checker in this one, Coach."
And there is the defensive coordinator. So Vilma had a fabulous day going against the master, and now this is Peterson. Some nifty running to the 38-yard line. Go back to Jonathan Vilma. and his performance in this game last year.
You'll see Jonathan in the middle here, a strange formation. He ends up checking to a cover 2, and this is going to lead to the interception. Tracy Porter comes across the field. Favre's going to roll away, but there's no receiver over here, so Tracy Porter's freed up. We talked to Tracy. He said, he's not going to throw it. He's not going to throw it. He threw it. He couldn't believe it, and there he sat.
Second down and 4. Favre, can he escape? No, he cannot. Cedric Ellis got enough of his shirt to take him to the ground.
Well, Cedric Ellis is having a pretty good game. I'm not so sure they weren't trying to set up a screen there, but he deserves a little credit. He's been making plays all day long. They've been playing him right on the nose here, probably because of John Sullivan's injury. Getting double teams, just going to break through. You can see it looked like they were trying to set up a screen, but the Saints had it covered, and Brent just had to eat it.
Less than 2 minutes remaining. Third quarter. Favre on 3rd and 13. And again, they stack the backs in the gun. He gets extra protection, but it cannot pay off. He tries to hit Harvin over the middle. Harper on the coverage, and they'll punt again.
He cannot figure out Percy Harvin, and that's on Percy Harvin right there. It was man-to-man coverage. Percy's got to break that across the face. Those are the reads you have to make as a wide receiver in this league. When you see man coverage, you don't shut it down. Brett expected him to keep going. Percy, for the second time tonight, stopped, and he fooled Brett.
Here's Fluey's kick. And he angles that one to the sideline. And then it will be downed at the 27-yard line. In the history of the NFL, a lot of great coach-quarterback combinations. Minimum 50 games since 1950. You had Young and Seifert averaging 27.5. Dan Fouts and Don Coryell, Air Coryell, that's 27.5, second highest. And then third would be Drew Brees and Sean Payton with the highest at 27.9 points per game.
It was interesting talking about how Sean Payton recruited Drew Brees here. We'll get into that in a minute.
From the 26-yard line.
Manny, right side.
And this is Thomas. And we can start that story, Chris, by talking about the fact you forget Drew Brees was a very good quarterback in San Diego. Then they get Phillip Rivers, so they have to make a choice. You can't have them both. So Rivers is going to be the guy. That makes Brees a free agent.
Yeah, he's a free agent, and really only 2 teams showed any interest at all, the Miami Dolphins and New Orleans Saints. He goes down to Miami. They put him through this battery of tests and 6 hours and an MRI machine and all these kinds of things. He came to New Orleans, and they just said, we want you. We know you're going to be great. We know you're going to be healthy. You're going to be the man here in New Orleans, and he just felt more confident here.
And the big issue, of course, is he was coming off shoulder surgery, and he launches this one, and it is Colston who can't hang on. Would have been close, whether he would have been in bounds anyway. And Brad Schultz goes over to Pat Allen and Abdullah on the back and say, good job, 3rd and 9.
Well, once again, they're going to test the safeties down the field here. Hussein Abdullah got there a little bit late, but it was Asher Allen who was there just enough to knock that football out. That looked like it was going to be a completion. Good play by Asher Allen. They clearly have sort of targeted Hussein Abdullah, who's not a really fast guy, but he's a guy that they say has such a better feel for the game than a couple of their other safeties, Tyrell Johnson and Jamarcus Sanford, that they just felt like that he was the better fit.
And Abdullah, a great story, and it's been chronicled a number of outlets because of his Islamic faith. He observed Ramadan, which ended tonight at sunset, and that meant that during the day he could not even drink water. So he goes through training camp, can't drink water, and tonight the sun went down in New Orleans at 7:13. So at 7:13, or about 23 minutes before kickoff, he could then eat again, and certainly he could drink water again. And he said, I wasn't going to eat a big meal, maybe I'd have a banana or so, but here's a guy going through training camp without food or water.
He's a remarkable young man. I can tell you, after having gone through many a two-a-days, I would have said that's impossible to do.
Me too. And his brother plays in the league, too, and he did it. 3rd and 9. And Brees throws, and that's incomplete. Going to the ground is Lance Moore. He's trying to plead his case, and the head linesman comes over and says, no, I've been to the rodeo before.
Now, that was really interesting. The umpire typically makes this call from right over the center, but now the umpire is all the way back behind the quarterback, and you could see the confusion as to whether or not they were going to call it a completion or not. The umpire comes sprinting up from all the way in the back, doing his old job, and made the right call.
That's the umpire now on the offensive side, except in the last 2 minutes of a half and 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, and when the ball is inside the 5-yard line. Morstead to kick. Very high. Bearcats call for flag thrown. Berrien collects it at the 26-yard line. Call by McCauley.
Caps off. Somebody ran out of bounds.
Yep. Offsetting here. So one each way.
There are 2 fouls in the play. Unsportsmanlike conduct, offense. The flyer went out of bounds, did not immediately return. Holding, receiving team number 92. The penalties offset, 4th down.
And back we go to kick again. Let's take a look at this umpire package we put together.
There you go. That's where the umpire lined up in behind the defense. And now they've moved him over behind the offense. He's 12 yards back. Initially, they started, I think, 15 yards back. They moved him a little closer, but now it's up to the quarterback to look out to either the line judge or the head linesman to figure out when it's legal for him to snap the football. So there's a few change in mechanics for referees and umpires and quarterbacks this year.
And, of course, it really affects a team like Indianapolis trying to run the no-huddle, and it did in the preseason game. Bearcats there by Berrien at the 23-yard line. On Sunday night, we're heading right to D.C. Tony Romo and the Cowboys. Donovan McNabb and the Redskins. It's the beginning of the Mike Shanahan era.
Receiving team number 37. 10-yard penalty. 1st down.
Holding call. It's going to cost him 10 more on Eric Frampton. But what a way to wrap up our first week. This game and then Redskins-Cowboys. What an intriguing game that is going to be.
Well, bold moves again by the Washington Redskins. No question about that. And Donovan, I think, maybe as much as anything, is going to add some confidence. Just a little swagger, add a little fun to the locker room. And that's a franchise that needs it.
So the ball now is back at the 13-yard line after the offsetting fouls, and then the kick and the penalty on the Vikings. Waning moments of the third quarter. And Adrian Peterson will take us to double zeros as he brings it out to the 16-yard line. Tackled there by Roman Harper. So we played 45 minutes on opening night. New Orleans 14. Minnesota 9. And this NBC NFL kickoff special from New Orleans resumes after these messages. Fourth quarter, New Orleans. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Andrea Kramer on opening night. That same offense, they've owned the fourth quarter. 91 points outscoring their opponents in the fourth quarter, and in the Super Bowl, they came from behind to beat Indianapolis by outscoring the Colts 15-0 in the fourth. So we start the fourth. Saints up by 5. Favre throws into traffic and has it knocked away. That's Harper right there, banging it away from Shanko, trying to get free over the middle. 3rd and 7.
Well, if you've been wondering what happened to Desante Shanko in the second half, it's number 41, Roman Harper. They have made a switch. They started this half with Shanko split wide. Roman Harper went out on him, and they basically were playing the run. That's all well and good as long as Roman Harper, a Pro Bowler, can cover Shanko. He's done a beautiful job so far.
Saints adjustments working to the point that Favre in the second half is 0 for 5. He was 11 for 15 in the first half. Under pressure again, and that pass is deflected, and somehow that is Klein saucer, and one official will overrule the other, had a better look at it, and said it's incomplete because you had Roman Harper and Alex Brown converging to hit Favre as he got rid of it.
Oh, Dr. Heat brought some here, and then you'll see the linebackers going this way. And somehow Brett got close on this one. This is one of those floaters that, more often than not, and good call by the officials, end up more trouble than good. So he got his hands underneath it. Those bouncing balls, they don't usually give you credit for them, though.
So Brett still hasn't completed a pass in this half, and now Bush will go back. A couple of years ago, Bush ran back 2 punts for touchdowns in a game against Minnesota.
He might challenge it, huh? Yep. He did have his hands underneath it. There was a bounce, but then the question becomes, did he catch it off the bounce?
Minnesota's challenge, the pass was complete. Timeout.
Okay, we'll take a peek at this one. Did he come up with it or not? I don't think so. All right, we're back, and this is about as close as it's going to get. I thought it was incomplete because I thought it hit the ground. But what you have here is one official saying it's complete. The other official comes in and he says incomplete. The second official overrules the first official. So the call on the field is incomplete. Here's McCauley.
The ruling on the field stands. Incomplete pass. 4th down. Minnesota's charged with their first timeout.
That is about as close as you can get.
Well, you know, Al, I'm not so sure if this had been called complete. Possibly they leave it. I mean, because really there were not only that one, but then you had to worry about the second bounce when it came up. And I think that the league now is trying to move towards, it has to be so conclusive to overturn. They want to leave these alone.
But the interesting thing about that is you had the play called 2 ways on the field. Now the second ruling overrules the first. Had it been reversed, you might have seen that play stand. Here's Bush to the 39. In other words, if the first official would have said incomplete and the second said complete, then that might have stood because that play was that close on the replay.
I think if you have 5 officials say complete and 1 say incomplete, they're still going to rule incomplete, though, right?
Again, it's overturning the play, and the ruling, once again, you'll see the first official will come in and he will say it's a good catch.
Right.
Then the second one comes in and says no. So the second one has the authority to overrule here. And again, you've got the left tackle, Bryant McKinney, going back to the locker room as the Saints take over. And this is Thomas. And I think it was inconclusive to overrule, but it works both ways because if the ruling on the field had been complete, I think that would have been inconclusive to overrule complete. Anyway,
well,
there you have it.
I think you ought to teach a clinic on this stuff.
No, thank you. No, I got other stuff to do here.
Brett could do the quarterback clinic along with Drew, and you could do the rules.
Right.
Be good.
Freddie and Drew will do the 3 technique. Take a look at how the play selection is evened out here in the second half. 2nd and 4 from the 46-yard line. Brees throws. Colson has the ball in Minnesota territory at the 45-yard line. E.J. Henderson makes the tackle.
Yeah, I always enjoy watching Marcus Colston play. Here's a guy that was a 7th-round draft pick, and over the last 4 years, he's caught 285 balls, most for anybody drafted later than the 4th round. And that's his play right there. He's a big guy. He's inside. He works those underneath zones. I bet you Brett would like to have him over there right now.
A lot of quarterbacks would like to have him right now. From the 44. Exploiting that hole. And Thomas, he gets taken down by Winfield. Pierre Thomas, who will be the workhorse running back this year. Last year, the most carries were by Mike Bell, who's now in Philadelphia.
Good cutback that time. Watch my man Bushrod come down here and wipe this down. Good patient running by Pierre Thomas. Everybody wants to know what a guy's 40-yard dash time is. Has nothing to do with it at a running back. There's a guy about a 4.65 guy. Patience, understanding what they're trying to do to him, making plays.
2nd and 3.
Like 5-6. Ready, 30,
Thomas again. Pierre to the 34-yard line, and that'll move the change with 12.5 minutes left in the 4th.
I tell you, this is surprising, isn't it? I mean, it looked like that the plan was going to be just come out and throw the football, take advantage of the depleted secondary, and all of a sudden here in the second half, the world champions have said, hey, it's time to defend the turf, and they're pounding it at one of the best run defenses in the NFL.
Thomas has carried the ball 12 times, 47 yards, so that's 4 yards a clip. Carry number 13, and that's maybe 1. Pat Williams. You know, we talked about Brees before and how he might have wound up in Miami and winds up here, and it's really the only major offer he gets. He came with Sean Payton. I mean, Payton's here first. Payton recruits Brees. Sean wanted the Green Bay job. He wanted that job. And then New Orleans was also in the mix, and he was called by the Packers, and they gave the job to Mike McCarthy. Otherwise, he's there.
Well, you think about what you're coming in and looking at in New Orleans at that time 4 years ago, and you're going, I'm bringing my family into what was a pretty tough situation.
Right.
So a lot of people were looking elsewhere.
And Green Bay was a better football team. 2nd and 9, and that pass is caught at the 16-yard line, and trying to get a push-off call is Williams, but he won't get it. Jeremy Shockey making the catch.
I thought it was a push-off, too, I have to tell you. Jeremy Shockey against Mediu Williams on the outside. Well, Mediu gave him a little push, too, so I think the officials got that right. From the other angle, it looked like just the opposite. Here it looks like Mediu's doing the chicken fighting, and the other one it looked like Shockey was. He's playing football.
Gain of 14.
Like 5-6.
From the 18 now. Running to the strong side, but getting nowhere is Pierre Thomas. Pat Williams in his 14th season in the league. Part of the Williams wall, the unrelated Williams. Pat.
The big guy.
Kevin.
Right here. This is his last year, too. He's going out with Brett. That's what he's done for a long time in this league. 3 Pro Bowls. You got to move the wall if you're going to run it inside against the Vikings. He comes out, and it becomes a passing down.
Well, he may be going out, but how do you know Brett will?
Like 26.
Yeah, that's a good point.
2nd and 9. We'll believe it when we see it. And that catch was made by David Thomas just inside the 15-yard line. That's going to set up a key 3rd down and 6. A drive, obviously, that New Orleans wants to have culminate with a touchdown, because a field goal would make it an 8-point game and a 1-possession lead.
Yeah, one of those you can point to certain plays in a ball game is the deciding factors, and here we are with one.
Key 3rd and 6. The back is Bush. Brees to the corner of the end zone, and reaching up and not being able to come down with it is Robert Meacham. Couldn't hang inbounds. Threw it over Asher Allen. He was beaten, but Meacham can't come down with the ball in the end zone.
Oh, it did come down. It would have been a completion. He got the knee down, which was all he needed. See that knee hit? If he had caught it, that would have been a touchdown.
Couldn't get possession. Darren Hartley now. This will be a 32-yard attempt. This one from 46 earlier. And this one is no good. He missed that one.
Maybe he needs more pressure.
Hook that one deep to the rough. 14-9 it remains. You saw Brian McKinney go out to the right tackle. Load hold now goes to left tackle. And the backup right tackle, Ryan Cook, comes in at right tackle. So the revamped offensive line with 9 minutes to go in the fourth. And this drive beginning at the 22 after the missed field goal. Spinorama for Favre, and then for Shanko over the middle, and the pass is incomplete. Threw it into a triangle of defenders. Let's go to Andrea for the report of McKinney.
Yeah, Al, they took Brian McKinney in the locker room with a finger injury, which they're calling his return questionable. I was watching them manipulate his fingers on the sideline, and he was grimacing pretty badly.
That's why McKinney is out of the game, and so Lodehold did a good job as a rookie last year on the right side. Favre, meanwhile, in this half, Brett is 0 for 7. This is their fifth possession. The first 4 have all ended with punts, and 3 of them on 3 and outs. Over the middle, it's a short game. Gets the ball into the hands of Jim Kleinsaucer, now in his 12th year in the league, and all of those with the Vikings.
Well, and they basically have taken away Shanko, and now Brett has no faith in anybody else to go make a play for him. The one thing about Ryan Cook, he was the right tackle, so it's not like he hasn't played that position before Lodehold took his place, so he does have experience at that right tackle. This defense needs a rest, too.
Third and 5. Favre with 4 wides. To the left side he goes, and that's caught, and reaching up and making the catch is Greg Camarillo, who was recently acquired from Miami in the trade that sent Benny Sapp to the Dolphins. Chris was talking about him earlier. Normally operating out of the slot, a welter type, and a 29-yard huge catch for Minnesota.
He's a pro. He's not fast. He set up the defensive back, and Brett knew exactly what he was doing. He never looked at anybody else. He was, once Camarillo got in the game, just like he did in those preseason games, he went right to him. I have just been stunned he hasn't been in more.
That Camarillo lined up initially in the slot, and Berrien went behind him, and they ran out of the stack, and he gets free on the sideline. Peterson, meanwhile, is split this time wide to the right. Favre is able to shovel it. Chest pass, and a flag is down as he throws it into the arms of
Holding, offense number 71, 10-yard penalty, first down.
And that's Lodehold now playing left tackle.
Well, one of the tough things when you're playing against Will Smith and he tries to rip underneath you, Lodehold just basically grabbed him by the shoulder pad there, and that's an easy call. Will Smith, 13 sacks on the year a season ago, far and away the best pass rusher on this Saints team.
First and 20 now, up at the 47-yard line. Oh, maybe. And then Peterson is the safety valve. Dell came in and put the pressure on Favre, and that's complete, but for a loss of 3.
Well, he wanted to come on the backside to Bernard Berrien, but Tracy Porter ate him up, and then Brett didn't feel comfortable. You see how far inside Porter is in that man coverage, and Brett had to pull off of it. He was lucky that one wasn't picked.
6.5 minutes to play. Second and 23. Good protection this time. And he gets the ball into the hands of Greg Lewis, but they have a lot of ground to make up. That's only to the 44-yard line. And that'll make it 3rd and 11, a gain of 12 on that play.
Phil Lodehold's having a rough time over here with Will Smith. Brett did a great job just buying enough time and then threw it all the way back across his body. Watch him just figure out a way to get that pass off, and then pure arm strength. His body may be dying, but that arm is still lively.
3rd and 11, they have to get to the 33-yard line.
Oh, they got a blitz coming there.
And Favre hangs in, and that pass going to the ground. Does he make the catch? No. Camarillo this time stretching out, almost Who's coming up with it? But it hits the ground and it's 4th down. And the Vikings look over to the bench and say, now what?
Wow, that was pretty close, too. Camarillo almost made a diving play here. He got on the ground.
Nope.
Brett just overstretched that one just a little bit, or he would have had his first down. Again, it's a timing issue. These guys haven't worked together, and you can just see it out there.
There's a bouncing snap. Bluey's able to come up with it. He short hops it, and then the kick bounds back and is down at about the 12-yard line. They'll go to work on the clock with 5.5 to go. 14-9, Saints. Well, that's what it was all about for the Saints last year, and the way it ended, that classic shot with Brees and his son. Some souvenirs from Miami, and then, of course, the Mardi Gras. That's a classic shot right there. And the plane on the way back, Drew Brees and the Lombardi Trophy. It was Sean Payton and the Lombardi Trophy. You saw Brees at the top, Sean, and the Lombardi Trophy. And, of course, he talked about the fact that he'd heard that Mike Tomlin had gone to sleep with it after they won it. And this is Colston to the 15-yard line. Tackled there by Asher Allen. Of course, the team is owned and has been for a lot of years now by Tom Benson and his granddaughter, Rita Benson LeBlanc, helping to run this team. His wife, Gail, is there. When Tom bought the team, they weren't very good. Kind of lovable losers, but every once in a while he'd bring that umbrella out and do that dance when they'd win a game, which wasn't with great frequency. In the 21-yard line, Taylor Thomas.
Here, Thomas has really just found a way to make it work. Jari Evans inside. We talk about these guards all the time. Here's Jari Evans right here now. Finds a way to get big Pat Williams out of there just enough to set up this 3rd and short. It's been a fist fight inside between these 2 guards and 2 defensive tackles.
Saints are only 1 of 8 on 3rd down. This is the big one. They can take a lot of time off the clock, and they'll be able to do it because the pass is caught by Heath Evans. And so when you do that, you force the other team into a situation. Either they got to use their timeout, so you're going to take almost all of the 40-second clock away.
Watch Antoine Winfield get fooled. He thinks it's a run. Heath Evans runs right by him. Pick up the 1st down. What a great call by Sean Payton. That's the kind of guts this guy has. Who'll ever forget the onside kick to start the 2nd half? When I first saw him for this game, I said, you're out of your mind making that call. They would have your entire life used that against them. That didn't work. And, of course, he's Super Bowl champ now.
Thomas, and that's one of the great calls in football history when you consider what was at stake, and it turned the game in New Orleans' favor. But that's the great thing about sports. It took about a minute for them to figure out who had the ball. If you have the ball, you're a genius. If the other team has the ball, you're a moron.
Here we go to work once again. Carl Nix, number 77, coming down, just wiping them down. That's really all they've been doing so far is just this cutback run play. They've been using that big guy's leverage against them and just sort of wiping them down.
2nd and 5. He's milked that play clock. And now does Minnesota want to use a timeout here? They only have 2, plus the 2-minute warning, and the reason they lost that one timeout was the challenge that did not go their way. And Childress opting to let Brees take this clock down to about 2:10 and run the play.
Be interesting to see if Leslie Frazier has enough confidence in these corners to try and blitz. If you blitz, you have to play man coverage.
3rd and 7.
Nope.
Stepping up. Catch is made. 1st down is made. As the catch is made by Devery Henderson. And that is big, big, big.
Yep. No blitz call at all. Went with the 4-man rush, and they pick it up.
And now Minnesota takes a timeout with 2:05 remaining. 14-9 New Orleans. Next Wednesday, catch a sneak preview of the new series Outlaw starring Jimmy Smits. After the finale of America's Got Talent, that's Wednesday, right here on NBC. New Orleans.
You guys in the playoffs.
Bourbon Street ready to rock again if they can hold on to this lead. 2:05. 2-minute warning will stop it after Thomas. And that would not have been a good thing to get out of bounds had it not been for the 2-minute warning. You want to stay in. There's your 2-minute warning. Here's the math. 2nd down and 6, assuming Minnesota stops them without a first down here. Take the timeout. And then before a 4th down play, they'd snap the ball to punt with about 1:15. This assumes they don't pick up a first down. And forget that assumption because they just picked up the first down. Pierre Thomas takes the ball to the 45-yard line. So the Vikings in a position where they had to stop him without a first down. Now they take a timeout, and they have none remaining.
You know, Al, it's just been the story of the game here in the second half. This cutback play has just absolutely wiped out the Minnesota Vikings. Big guys inside, they just wipe you down, and then the back cuts back. Good job in there by Heath Evans getting the block, and that's been the story.
This NFL kickoff special being brought to you by Warner Brothers Pictures, The Town, in theaters everywhere, September the 17th on Mercedes-Benz, located on the web at NBUSA.com, by Bank of America, and by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And this crowd is loving it right now. And they can just take a couple of knees and see around.
You know, for me, Al, the story of this game really has been the lack of a passing game by the Vikings. Sidney Rice is out. Brett Favre wasn't in camp. Percy had the migraines and missed time. Camarillo just got here. There's no timing. There's no sense of any kind of synchronization between Brett Favre and these receivers. And when they had opportunities, they just could not take advantage.
That's the post-game lineup coming your way. So the Saints, who did nothing but throw the ball in the first half and really couldn't do anything except for that one drive, decide to run the ball in the second half. And they can take one more knee and know that they're going to a record of 1-0. The Vikings, who have a very tough early season schedule, will go home, and they will face Miami a week from Sunday, and then Detroit. And then after that, their next 5 games are all against playoff teams from last year, including a big Sunday night game at Green Bay, so it's going to be rough. And the Saints pick up a couple of very key first downs, and Brees turns and hands the ball to Harper. And as Chris was saying, they made that defensive switch with Harper working on Shanko in the second half, and that was big after Shanko had burned them in the first half, and the Saints come home and win their home opener.
Shanko with no catches whatsoever in the second half, and he was their one threat in the first half.
So the Gillette post-game report is coming right up. But first, these messages from your local NBC station.
Welcome to the Gillette Fusion Pro Glide post-game report. Here now, Bob Costas.
The French Quarter was jumping tonight. The Superdome was rocking, and the Saints opened the NFL season and opened defense of their Super Bowl championship with a 14-9 win over the Vikings. Andrea Kramer is standing by with 2 of the Saints stars, Drew Brees and Jonathan Vilma. Andrea.
Thank you very much, Bob. Drew, what was the emotion of the night like for you?
Unbelievable emotion, you know, and you try to prepare yourself for it kind of like you would the Super Bowl or a playoff game just because there's so much hoopla with the concerts beforehand and the dropping of the banner and that kind of thing. You know, Sean Payton brought us in here for a Friday practice, you know, on a Tuesday, and we had a chance to see a video, see the banner drop. So we were a part of it, but prior to, so that, you know, the emotions weren't running too high, because sometimes that takes you a half a quarter to get, you know, brought back down to earth.
I know you script your opening plays, but your opening drive couldn't have been more perfect. What was the key to getting into that rhythm?
Well, you know, we score on the opening drive, made it look easy. We score on the opening drive of the third quarter. And then everything in between, everything other than that, though, wasn't very pretty. And sometimes they aren't. You know, our defense did a great job all night long, getting us good field position. Unfortunately, we just didn't capitalize on some of the big play opportunities. And you got to give credit to their defense. They're a solid bunch, too.
More rushing, though, certainly even in the third quarter to open up the drive. What was the thinking behind that? Well,
we only had one rushing attempt in the first quarter. And, you know, when you look at our first drive, we threw it pretty much every down the field and scored, and thought, we'll continue to do this, you know, set the tone, get in a rhythm, you know, get those offensive linemen confident with that pass rush. But unfortunately, we just couldn't convert on third downs. And once we got the run game going, though, we were much more balanced, kept our defense off the field, used the clock, and scored a few more points.
All right, Drew, thanks very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
As for the defense, the leader of the defense, Jonathan Vilma, what was the key for you guys tonight in being able to? You told me you can't stop Brett Favre, you have to contain him. How did you manage to at least slow him down?
I think we did a good job slowing him down by staying basic. You get a guy like Brett Favre, he's been around, he understands the defenses, he understands the man coverages and all the different packages. So we tried to keep it basic and do what we do and execute well.
What was this whole night like for you, the culmination of the Super Bowl?
You know, the night was great because we won. And, you know, if we didn't win, it would have been one of those frustrating nights, you know, bittersweet. It would have been great for the fans, but we didn't get the victory. And, you know, that's what it was all about. Coming out here for the fans, they enjoyed the banner drop. We came out, we gave them a good performance, came out with the victory.
All right, Jonathan, thanks very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Dan, back to you and the guys.
All right, Andrea, thank you. With Tony Dungy, Rodney Harrison, Jonathan Vilma led defense, shutting down the Vikings in the second half. If you're a Saints fan, if you're Sean Payton, what do you take away from this game?
Well, if I'm Sean Payton, I'm happy we won, but I'm concerned because some things showed up tonight. Missed field goals, our offense not scoring at the rate they did, and we finally got the running game going with Pierre Thomas, but it was sluggish for the Saints.
But you're talking about the run game. You also have to talk about the pass game. The Saints' ability to protect Drew Brees. They only gave up 1 sack. Jared Allen had 0 sacks, and they just played absolutely terrific.
And they went to Pierre Thomas in the second half. As you said, prior to the game, it looked like they were going to take care of an inexperienced Vikings secondary. They tried to do that in the first half.
They tried to beat them throwing in the first half, but they won the game running the ball, so that's something they can take away positive. Pierre Thomas is still the guy that generates some life in that running game.
But you also look at the balance in which they played, Coach. Drew Brees completed passes to 8 different receivers. I think that's pretty good balance on offense.
But they've scored 14 points
running the ball.
What about the Vikings?
Well, if I'm the Vikings fans, I'm a little concerned about my team for a couple of reasons. Defensively, they played well, but offensively, I thought Brett Favre got tired in the second half. He wasn't as sharp, and they really missed Sidney Rice. They didn't have that threat down the field.
Yeah, Vincente Shenko was their deep threat, and he's their tight end.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but if you look on the defensive side for the Vikings, the young injured secondary played extremely well. They held them to 14 points, and the Saints, I mean, they just played well.
But you look at Favre, you actually could see fatigue. Arm or...
Well, just his body language. And I thought the last drive of the first half was special. I thought he was going to come out and rip him up in the second half, and he couldn't get going. He missed some throws that he normally hits.
But you're talking about a 41-year-old guy that missed training camp, missed a lot of practices, and now you see that his body is starting to wear down. And it's early in the season, and his body's going to wear down.
It might be better, though, after he practices a little bit more and gets into the flow. But tonight, when they needed it in the fourth quarter, he wasn't really sharp.
Yeah, you can't recreate that game-like situation if you're someone, no matter if it's Brett Favre or somebody younger there.
I mean, to his credit, Dan, he made some wonderful throws down the middle.
All right, let's go back to Bob.
All right, Dan, and before we clear out of here and head for D.C. for the Sunday nighter between the Redskins and the Cowboys, a quick reminder for breaking news and constant updates on all things NFL. The place to go is Pro Football Talk on NBCSports.com. Mike Florio has the latest on Chargers wide receiver Vincent Jackson's situation, and of course he'll be all over the Tom Brady contract news. And we're back to Alan Chris to wrap things up after this.
Final score once again in New Orleans, 14-9. The Super Bowl champion Saints knock off the Minnesota Vikings. We go to Washington. You know, I look at this game in a couple of different ways. The Cowboys have a lot to lose this season because so much is expected of them. And they are the favorite in the minds of a lot of people to get to the Super Bowl in their home stadium. Redskins won 4 games last year. McNabb, Shanahan. I mean, they win 8. That's a big step up. But this is going to be Dallas and Washington is always great, but there's so much intrigue about this game on Sunday night.
And I think the Cowboys are a little vulnerable because of what's going on with their offensive line right now. 2 of their stalwarts up there just may or may not be able to play. We're still not sure. And there's so many stories in Washington. The old Albert Haynesworth saga. You bring in Shanahan. How in the world could Donovan McNabb end up in a divisional opponent's house, playing for the Washington Redskins? One of the more stunning things we've seen in this league over the past few years. And he is going to be truly inspired this year to prove Philadelphia wrong.
You talked about the problems along the offensive front, including Colombo and Kozar for the Dallas Cowboys. Normally preseason means nothing. But the Cowboys played 5 preseason games, and they didn't look very good at the end.
No, they didn't. But I watched a few of those tapes, and they were about as basic as any football team could possibly be. So they weren't going to show their hand, and they know that it doesn't matter what happens in preseason. I would expect a little more firepower come Sunday night.
See you inside the Beltway.
Can't wait.
Travel well. Okay, 14-9 is the final score here in New Orleans. Bob Costas will host football night from FedEx Field. Cowboys and Redskins coming up on Sunday Night Football. Coming up next, an all-new Tonight Show with Jay Leno and Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. So until Sunday night, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Andrea Kramer, our entire NBC Sports crew saying good night from New Orleans.